Hello and welcome to another episode of Worst Collection Ever. This is the show where we tell you about the worst comic book collection in existence, and it just happens to belong to us. I'm Jen.
I'm Sean.
Here we are.
We are day after Halloween.
Oh man, well this drops the day after Halloween.
Yeah.
But we just actually watched WWE's Evolution.
Oh yeah, wrestling.
WWE's first all-women's pay-per-view.
Women be evolved and shit.
Yes, well, I'm not going to say it's the first ever, even though the E is saying that. That is not correct.
No, there are plenty of predecessors.
Plenty of them. But this is the first time the E has ever done it.
Yeah, no, it was good stuff. You know, the matches were pretty good.
They were fun.
There's some, Becky Lynch versus Charlotte Flair was quite dope.
Yep.
And I thought, from what I was able to watch of Shayna Baszler and Kairi Sane, I thought that was pretty good. So yeah, not a bad event. Nothing really too surprising. I kind of hoped, since it was like the inaugural women's event like that, you figured that there might be like. Yeah, no, I thought there'd be more surprises and maybe, like an announcement of the women's tag titles.
Right.
That's been something that they've been talking about, so we'll see. We also did watch, speaking of Halloween.
Yes. Which I hope everybody had a wonderful and safe Halloween.
Yes. Yeah, no, I hope you all had a good Halloween. And we had a chance to actually see the remake of Halloween.
Yes.
Which I liked it.
Yeah, I enjoyed it, actually.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
I honestly... It's been so long since I saw the original Halloween, if I've even seen it all the way through, to be honest.
I feel like that's the same thing for me.
But I mean, I know the basic story.
Yeah. Halloween's like one of those movies that, and I've talked about this before, where it's not something where like a franchise I really got into.
Right.
But I've seen and read and heard enough about the movie. It makes me feel like I've actually watched that movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even though maybe I haven't.
Yeah.
Maybe I probably have.
Yeah.
At some point in my
I felt like that about
years.
Citizen Kane until I saw Citizen Kane.
Yeah, I definitely did.
But it really was exactly kind of what I thought it was going to be. Because I was like, I've heard about this so many times and I've seen so many spoofs of the ending. I know what's going to happen.
Right. Yeah, no, but this remake was pretty good. It was David Gordon Green, him and Danny McBride.
Yep.
And there was some really good tension and just I think if you're gonna pick up where the first movie ended and skip everything else, I think they did a good job of just establishing that and moving forward with the rest of the story.
Yeah.
I kind of hope they don't do a sequel to it because I thought it ended pretty definitively. In terms of, him, of how it ended. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not gonna spoil it, but
no.
And there's some silliness in there that I think maybe this isn't a spoiler, but there's these two British podcasters. Yeah,
and they actually say we're making a podcast.
Fucking podcasters.
Yep, they sure are.
In a major motion picture remake of a classic horror movie in the year 2018. I mean, I get why you would do it because it's a good way to get. I
mean, it brings it up to date.
Yeah, it brings it up to date. And it, but these are terrible podcasters.
They're ridiculous, and that wasn't like that to me was just funny that they were podcasters. Yeah. But I think for me, even though I really enjoyed it, there were some things where I was just like, this whole movie is just like Michael Myers is human. Uh-huh. He is a human being. And then sometimes it would just be like he had supernatural powers. And
That's
like
always how it's been.
It's
really frustrating. Yeah.
It is because I'm like, well, if you're telling me he's human, then you can't be doing this shit. Like, I get it, movie, whatever. But at the same time, I'm like, So, I don't know.
Yeah, there's a lot of that kind of bullshit that happens.
Like, it didn't take me out of the movie. It just like made my eyebrow raise a little bit and be like,
Well, the thing about too is like Michael Myers, like he's a big dude.
Yes.
Stature-wise, but he's not like, for the amount of strength and the shape that he should be in.
Yeah.
Even because he wears a jumpsuit.
Yeah.
I mean...
You can't really tell.
You can't really tell, but at the same time, you would think that I don't know. It's just something that's off about the way that they put that together. And it's you kind of have to suspend your disbelief in even though you're like, no, he's a human man, and he can survive all these things and shit,
Sure.
I mean, I don't know. Some people are just lucky.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
I guess, but
Michael Myers just lucky.
Michael Myers just lucky. Yeah. No, but it was pretty good. Definitely recommend seeing that. And since it's Halloween, we did try to watch a few other movies.
I made you watch Hocus Pocus.
We watched like 4 movies last night.
We did.
We watched a lot of movies.
We did.
Shit.
I made you watch Hocus Pocus, which you had never seen before.
Yeah, it's just one of those movies where it's like I didn't. Well, it's 1993.
Right.
So
you were 13.
I was 13.
Not typically a movie a 13-year-old boy would watch.
Yeah, not something
But that is a mistake.
No,
because it's a fantastic movie.
I know, but it's like there's a lot of there's a lot of campy shit.
It's so campy. But that's why it's great. I mean, I think I am Bette Midler's character, especially the part where she like hissed at those children. That was pretty great. I'm like, oh, it's me. No, I mean, it's just enjoyable, and it's dumb as shit. But that's the whole point.
Yeah, it was the dumbest shit. It was written by my buddy Mick Garris. Co-written by Mick Garris, I believe. There's some silly dialogue in there. And
oh, yeah.
It's very... I mean, you know what it is, though? What I like, though, is that it's a Disney movie. Mm-hmm. But there's definitely some, like, darker themes in it.
Yes.
That Disney, when they kind of embrace those things, you're kind of like, all right, that's cool.
Yeah.
You kind of dig it. And, so this one was kind of one of those things. It's clearly it's supposed to be a kid. It's kind of a kid's movie, but...
Yeah, it's up.
It could be for adults, too.
Yes.
Something for daddy.
Yeah.
Whatever. But yeah, no, so it's good film. I like that. What else did we watch? Well, we tried
Wishmaster,
because we're doing it for We Hate Movies. Garbage. That movie's stupid.
Man.
Can't wait to hear them talk about it.
I never saw Wishmaster. I never got into that. It's another one of those franchise things that I just never...
Well, that's like a lesser known franchise.
I know, but like I never got into Wishmaster, and I'm watching it and going, I'm really glad because this is absolute garbage.
Oh, it's dumb.
It's like barely a movie. Though there are some amazing effects in it that are just of the time.
Well, it's 1997, so we're kind of getting there, but we're not quite there.
We're not quite there yet.
Yeah, we still got a ways to work on there. I actually thought that movie was much later or much older than it was. I thought it was like 93, 92.
Yeah,
but as it turns out, no, 1997 is the first Wishmaster.
Oof.
And it definitely shows when it comes to some certain effects in there. But
it was a little painful.
But yeah.
Yep. And then
Stupid.
And then I fell asleep during Sorority House Massacre. Which is basically the same plot as Halloween.
Yeah, same plot as Halloween.
Girl has a brother kills everybody, then he tries to kill her.
Yeah. And then he kills all of her dumb friends. And I've seen that movie before. And
there is, however, some really great 80s fashion. And like a changing, like we're all getting dressed montage where all these girls are putting on these ridiculous dresses and you see a lot of tits.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're really bad.
It's the braless women of the 80s.
Just like, why aren't you wearing a bra? That fabric must itch. So you must have some serious chafing because you're walking around in like crinoline or whatever the fuck.
Crinoline?
Yeah.
With Krillin, the character from Dragon Ball Z?
Yes, it is just made of his skin. All 80s dresses are made of Krillin's skin.
Krillin!
That's why everybody looked so weird back then.
Yeah, that answers a lot of questions.
It really does.
But yeah, no, it's pretty. That movie's.
That was dumb.
It's actually. I always would read that it gets a lot of praise. Because it was a woman. It's a woman director. It's a female director. The directing like an 80s slasher movie.
Sure.
So
Which
I guess so. At that time, a lot of people were like, "Oh man, that's really that's unique."
Yeah,
I guess for that genre, and I've always read that people like, oh, it's got it gets a lot of praise. It's not that great.
No, it's nothing special.
Nothing special.
Because if it was special, I would have stayed awake during it.
Yeah, and also too, like, it takes place supposedly in California. It's one of those things where we watch a movie and we don't live in California anymore, but
we know it's in California somewhere.
Well, it's in California because there specifically mentions in California, but you're always kind of like watching, trying to be like, okay, what area is this in?
Yeah, you can definitely, because there's like palm trees in the background. And
there's palm trees, so it looks like
obviously this is filmed in LA somewhere. The question is where.
Yeah.
Is this filmed in Culver City? Is it off Fairfax?
I don't think Culver City.
Is it in Beverly Hills? I think it was Beverly Hills, to be honest, because they needed a big house.
They did need a big house.
So
I do like that a sorority house is just like this giant fucking random mansion where the surprise. So the premise is that the main girl goes to a sorority that happens to live in this house, but she starts having all these weird mental flashbacks because that apparently was the house where the killer, who ends up being her brother, finds out to being her brother, is that's where
he murdered all the people.
He murdered her and tried to murder her family and tried to murder her. Trying to murder her. So she's like, but she doesn't realize this because she was raised somewhere else.
Yeah.
And then she comes back and she's like, oh my God. But the house, it's like, I mean, it's like, it's one of those houses. It's weird because it's like one of those houses that it's a sorority house. So there's a lot of rooms.
Yes.
You know, I mean, people are living there.
Yeah.
You know, you got like 10, 20 women there.
Well, I think what irritated me before I fell asleep was I was watching it and I'm just like, this girl would see like her brother in the mirror standing there with a knife, and he would be there for a while.
She was hallucinating.
She was hallucinating, but she didn't know she was hallucinating. There was no indication that she realized that, and she wouldn't tell anybody else. So someone else would walk into the room to be like, oh my God, what's wrong? And she would just be like, nothing. And then they'd leave. And I'm like, you don't know you're hallucinating this guy. Why didn't you just say, oh my God, I just saw a man. Yeah. He's right there with a knife. Holy shit, let's call the cops. No, she's just
That's gotta be awkward, though.
Like, how many times? She walked in at one point. No one else is there. She walks in, and there he is standing by the fireplace with the knife. She runs out, and she runs into another girl walking into the house. Now, she's scared enough to run out of the house, but she doesn't say to the girl, oh my God, there's a dude with a knife. Don't go in.
Right.
That irritated me. I was like, come on now.
Yeah, that's a weird. It was
weird.
Kind of silly.
It was just weird.
And then I decided to watch a movie that that actually I own and I quite enjoy, called Nightmare City from 1980. It's Italian. Umberto Lenzi, a horror film about. So basically, it's about It's like it's supposed to be a zombie movie. It's classified often as a zombie movie, but it's not really a zombie movie because basically a plane full of like nuclear radiated like men and women lands in Italy,
wherever,
Europe,
town.
So. And it lands there, and these maniacs get out, and they're all basically, I mean, they're supposed to be like, all damaged and stuff, but they look basically like they have like they look melted, but they're not quite melted.
It's like they have like Play-Doh on their faces.
Yeah, they have kind of like dirty Play-Doh on their faces, and they're just, and then sometimes they have like weird gimmicks in their hair, and they just sometimes they just have like a random wound somewhere. The thing is that they're not zombies because they run like the Zack Snyder zombies.
They also can communicate with each other.
They can communicate. They don't talk.
But like there was that one scene that I woke up for where they were trying to get that girl in the gas station, and there was one zombie, and then two others meet him, and he goes, and he motions like, come with me.
They know the function of
they can communicate.
Communicating that way, yeah. But what's funny is that the way that it's shot is like you'll see like one of these dudes because a lot of these movies, it's like a lot of these things are like they'll shoot the guy, they'll film like the monster or whoever it is, like the zombie, and they'll just be staring and mugging and whatever, and then they'll shoot the guy they'll film the guy that's looking at him, and the guy that's looking at him is usually no selling it. He's just kind of like. Huh.
Right. It's like they didn't even tell him what he's supposed to be looking at.
Yeah, he didn't tell him what he's looking at, and then eventually, like, all this shit starts happening, and they're like, "Oh, we should go," whatever. And but it's kind of great though because, so like basically like the idea is that if you get murdered by these people, you become one of them.
Okay.
Because eventually they're gonna drink your blood because they want blood. But the way they drink blood is not like they don't eat people. But they just kind of like drink people like they're making out with them.
But don't they also like do a lot of tit stabbing?
Well, here's the thing too. So because the way that they're doing, they're not just walking up to people and like biting them. I mean, they're doing some biting, but they also know how to use weapons. And they're just so basically, keep saying basically, but the movie's essentially just a bunch of Italian extras running around with knives and guns because they know how to use guns and everything too.
Right. And
they just sort of shooting and stabbing. They're just and they're running up to like women because it's in the it's a 1980s Italian movie.
Right.
So we're just like, there's a woman. Her breasts. And, they're stabbing breasts. At one point they're cutting
That's
off.
fucked up.
Which is fucked up. I mean, and then they're just stabbing dudes. But it's really fun. I kind of wish you saw more of it because
I know. I should watch it again.
It's actually worth watching because it's just silly. It's very silly, and there's a part where I took a picture and put it on my Instagram of just the zombies just going into a ambulance and just finding some blood and sitting by it, drinking the blood out of whatever bottles they're in. It's like they're drinking out of 40s. And I've always remembered that about that movie. But Nightmare City. It's on Amazon Prime. If you want to check it out, it's definitely I think it's worth your time. So yeah, lots of stuff we watched. Well, on the night we saw Halloween, we went to
another Second and Charles.
Which this was what, Littleton?
Yeah, Littleton-ish. Yeah, down that way. Yeah, we went over there, and that was great because that one seems to be bigger than the one that's closer to us. So it had more stuff to look through, and man, did they have so many comics.
The comic selection at Second and Charles, for both locations that we've been to so far, is, in terms of just the amount, is quite impressive.
It really is.
And the affordability of it, too, I think is... It really kind of gives a lot of kind of random comic book stores a run for its money.
Yeah, I mean, I would say, obviously random comic book stores are going to have more stuff, but they still have a really good selection.
Well, in terms of, here's the thing, the selection there is not we have all these intense back issues.
Right.
You can pick up, random back issues and we'll hold all these new books for you and stuff like that. No, they just, I think they get I feel like they get new books in.
I think
maybe
they
do.
Because I feel like there was a new section.
They have them there, but it's pretty cool. I don't know, I like it. I like it a lot, because not only do they, they sell video games, they sell movies and stuff like that, but the comic book selection is pretty impressive with the fact that you can get a lot of stuff you can get a lot of single issues for cheap.
Yeah.
And it's not just new stuff, it's old stuff. I mean, they got all sorts of random stuff. But also, their trades, are discounted.
Yes.
Because a lot of them are...
used.
I guess a lot of them are used.
Yeah.
But they just have a lot of them. A lot of the same ones, a lot of just multiple copies of stuff,
Mm-hmm.
And you often are able to find some stuff that you normally wouldn't run into because people are selling that shit back.
Right.
So, you're not going to always find certain books, but I was pretty fortunate because I came across a copy of the Thor Blood and Thunder trade paperback, which I've been looking for because it has some issues of Warlock and the Infinity Watch.
Oh, okay.
That I've been looking for. And, it's a pretty cool story about Thor going crazy and shit.
Neat.
And I have scattered issues of it, but I've never actually sat down and read it.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been looking for this trade because it's got Thor. It goes through Thor. It goes through Silver Surfer. So there's quite a bit of content. So yeah, I was actually really happy to find that. I found it half the price.
Nice.
So because that's how they do. And I also got
a Guy Gardner.
Well, yeah, that's right. Yeah, I was going to say real quick on the previous purchase, I picked up a volume, Demon.
That's right.
Garth Ennis trade that I've been looking for. There's a few of those that you can pick up, and yeah, those are pretty cool. And I was actually finding that pretty cheap too, so I was happy about that. But yes, they also sell action figures. They have a nice random swath of action figures because people come back there and they sell random carded action figures.
They just sell random shit because they had a whole bin full of loose Star Trek The Next Generation action figures, the big ones.
Yeah.
And they just had a shit ton of them just in bags.
Yeah? Wait, so I missed that bin.
It was a little bin. Did you see it? It was small.
I saw some stuff hanging. I think that's okay.
No. It wasn't hanging. This was a bin next to the comics.
Oh, okay.
And it was just full of Star Trek The Next Generation action figures.
Yeah. So they just sell these random things, and it's really cool. And I picked up it was DC Universe or Infinite Guy Gardner, like the JLI version of it. So, because I've been like, it's like, it's on my list of, I have like a small list of figures. It's not small, but it's a list, right. It's a list of stuff that I'm like, stuff that I would like to have. But I'm not going to go crazy. I don't mind searching for it. So if I come across it, I'll buy it.
Right.
If it's respectable to buy it. So, so I bought that, and I thought that was pretty cool. I was actually happy to find that.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because these also sell like random like Toy Biz X-Men figures there too, in addition to like the current Marvel figures that they sell, and it's strange because you see like one of the randomest guys, they would always have this character named Kane. He was an X-Force buddy who had the first version of him had like a winch, like a hand that came out like a it would come out and you just press a button, it would snap back in, like on a string. So and so they have that, and I was like, oh, maybe I should buy that. Just I don't want it. I don't need it, but I might buy it just because it's fucking there.
Well, sure.
My new goal actually for I'll put this out there because maybe it'll actually motivate me. Is for Toy Biz, for my Toy Biz aspirations, I want to purchase all of the available Cable figures from the original line. Because Cable, the first edition of Cable in that line was the first one I ever bought years ago, and I've always there's been like I think there's like 5 or 6 of them. Because Cable was like the one guy. He was like the John Cena of X-Force.
Okay.
So
he just like never went away.
Well, he was the main guy behind X-Force. So they had to make about it guys. And the thing about
no one see him? Was that the problem?
Yeah. He was like you'd open it up and go da 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 da.
And everybody like nobody could see Cable.
No, you have to buy it and you can't steal it. But yeah, that was my experience there. And you. Did you get anything? You got a bunch of books.
I got some books,
Like books.
Just regular
She actually buys books.
Yeah, I do.
I don't buy that.
I buy books. Like regular-ass books.
I'm a schmuck.
Yes, that's true.
And so I guess the last thing we want to talk about, because we didn't really get to talk about too much about what we bought.
Oh, yeah.
Did you want to talk about that after the break? Or did
sure,
you?
Yeah,
Because we'll talk about because it's related to our book. Yeah. So you know what? Let's take our break. We'll come back. We'll talk about our book for this week.
Warlord Worlds,
a fan podcast devoted to the comics of writer and artist Mike Grell, including The Warlord, John Sable, Green Arrow, Starslayer, and Shaman's Tears.
I'm Ruth.
And I'm Darren.
Please join us as we discuss the stories, characters, and art in the many excellent comics from writer and artist Mike Grell.
Special episodes feature interviews with Mike Grell himself.
And special segments feature great guests discussing the Legion of Superheroes.
Listen at Podbean, iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, and YouTube.
Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, or visit warlordworlds.com.
Warlord Worlds is part of the Rad Adventures Network at radadventuresnetwork.com.
All right, we're back here in Worst Collection Ever. It's our book for this week. It is Action Comics number 444 from February 1975. On the cover, it says, so you got Superman. And he is standing.
He's in a spotlight.
He's in a spotlight, he's having a soliloquy. Actually, he's not saying anything. And there's a policeman pointing at him, and he is saying, because the policeman is holding the limp hand of Hal Jordan, the Green Lantern, and he is pointing at Superman saying, "He's dead, Superman. You murdered Green Lantern." And above Superman it says, "Beware the hero killers." And then also in this issue, Green Arrow and Black Canary.
Yes.
Very basic cover.
It is. So we went to, when we were in Buffalo, Dave and Adams.
Which we did talk about.
Which we talked about when we did our crossover podcast with Brian.
Which hopefully you guys all enjoyed. We did something.
Hopefully,
we were in town, and we needed to do an episode. Didn't get a chance to record it before we left, but
Brian needed to do an episode.
Yeah, and so
we put it together.
And so we had a night. We're just like, Brian's like, let's all record. And so Brian, me and Jen didn't have mics, just as FYI, but Brian had his own, because I thought Brian had multiple mics.
Yeah.
But I didn't. Had I known, I would have brought my own.
We did not.
But
That's
it's which is fine.
It worked.
But it worked fine. Hope you guys enjoyed it. We talked about the Darkhold book. That was a good time.
Yes.
So, and hope we drank some beer. Hopefully you guys enjoyed some of the beer information that Brian was given.
Yeah, Brian had facts.
Brian knows his shit.
Facts.
Yeah, Brian knows his beer stuff.
And as we know, anytime anybody's on this show, I never have facts. I know nothing. And I'm too lazy to do research. But yeah.
So, we went to Dave and Adams, just to, literally, that's where we picked up these books.
Well, see, here was what was very exciting. Because, last time we were in Buffalo, we went to Dave and Adams, and they have this huge, and they still do, I can't even tell you how many boxes of 50-cent books that they have.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, at least 50.
Their 50-cent collection is...
They have it...
it's
probably,
long boxes, too.
Yeah.
And what's
more than 50, right? Because it's like in a corner... And it's not just, it's like a U shape.
Could it be 50?
Oh, it's got to be more. I think it's more.
No.
Yes.
That's a lot.
Yeah, I think it's like 50 per side. It's really big.
That's a lot of boxes.
There's a ton of boxes.
Okay, maybe. I mean, they have new books too, but this is like this is something where it's like they didn't always. Apparently, Brian was telling us they didn't always do this with the books.
Yeah.
But then they're just like, yeah, you know what? We'll just do a bunch of comics and we'll just get just giant collections of comics and just sell them for 50 cents. And holy shit,
they're so.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't even tell you how many boxes there are, to the point where it's just like I cannot even think about going through all of them.
Yeah.
Because if I went through all of them, we'd be there for hours.
Yeah.
So, we were looking and I was just like, I don't want to buy any 50-cent boxes or 50-cent books. I can't think about it right now.
Well, we've been, here's the
because
thing.
I've been trying to really, I have so much shit to read. So I'm really trying to stay with trades.
Yeah, well, me too. That's the thing. That's why I was super stoked to find that Thor trade, because I want to start being able to fill in some holes with the trades instead of just buying more 50-cent books and just tacking them in there and stuff. Because
unless it's not collected.
Yeah, there's that's what I was saying the other, because I think about it. It's like there's got to be another purge coming.
There has to be
for
I
us.
think there is,
just because we have so much stuff, and I feel like I'm starting to get to this point where I'm like, I don't think I need all this.
Yeah.
I think I really could use. We could use a bit more. To just knock it down a little bit more.
Yep.
See what just kind of keep some essentials, and just try to kind of almost if anything, set it up so there's just books that we buy for the show.
Yes.
And it's kind of almost like two separate collections within our collection.
Yeah, I mean maybe. I just think that if it's in a trade, I should just buy the trade.
Yeah. And you can get rid of and if you have the trade, you can get rid of the single issues.
Yes.
If it's not something that's like super valuable.
And now if it's not collected,
yeah,
single issues. I think that's how I should really focus from now on. So, we looked at the 50-cent stuff and I was just like, yeah, whatever. And then I happened to see this display where it was just like, here's some vintage books, and they were 75% off.
That wasn't always the case. They would have those there,
yes,
but they were
this
just
was
regular
a
price.
Special through the end of the week or something that we were there.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, hey, this is cool. So I'm looking at what they have just on this little display. There weren't a ton. There were probably, I don't know, 30. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. And so I'm looking and I see this Action Comics.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, well, shit, that's 75% off. So it was only $2.
Yeah, $2.
I was like, shit.
To be honest, you probably could find this cheaper.
Maybe.
I feel like this is a kind of one of those Action Comics that we've passed over in the past.
Maybe, but it also had a really neat cover thing it comes in. It's not a bag, it's a... And
it's not a bag, and it's not one of the fancy top loaders. It is a top loader, though, and it's
a very thin top loader.
It's a thinner Mylar, I guess.
Yeah,
but
it's thicker too.
Okay, it's thicker. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a bag. It's a little bit more protected. And I was just like, well, I might be able to buy this. What the hell? I'm going to get this for me. And I saw something else. I was like, oh, I'll get this. And then I turn around and there's 5 tables, maybe 4 tables, full of vintage comics, all at 75% off.
Yeah.
And I was like, son of a bitch. So then that's when I went over and I found a bunch of Lois Lanes.
Yes.
I found a romance comic. I think I found the only one they had. So I bought that because it was a 100-page giant romance comic. I bought a weird Batman, and I think I bought a World's Finest.
Yes.
I picked up a couple things.
Yeah, definitely got a World's Finest. You got mostly, and I think you might have got Jimmy Olsen too.
I think I got a Jimmy Olsen too, and Jimmy Olsen's aren't collected. I'm sure that World's Finest is collected somewhere.
Yeah, those World's Finest are
Jimmy
probably.
Olsen is not. Lois Lane's are not, and I haven't seen like a big romance collection.
Not for DC.
Yeah, I've got like a weird romance one that has just like some weird shit, but not like a young romance, issues 1 through 40 or something.
Yeah, no, it's always fun to come across those. Which I'll tell you what, for Halloween, or not for Halloween, but for Valentine's Day for February, we're doing a special Love Month.
Oh shit!
I know we didn't discuss this, but I'm just saying I think we
I'll
should
be okay
because we have a bunch of these books kind of just hanging out.
Oh yeah,
and I think we're due do that, and that probably will be a part of it. But I didn't buy. I think I only bought one. I only bought a Justice League of America issue with Eclipso in it. I think it was issue like 109. And I've been looking for it.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, this is my chance to get this, because usually, it's a older issue, but it's not that valuable. But it's you can't. It's not just one of those ones you find laying around.
Right.
So because it's like mid 70s or whatever. So I was like, yeah, I'll do that. Let's do this.
Yeah.
So David Adams is fucking badass. I think I talked about the toys I bought last week. I got that Savage Dragon. I opened up that Savage Dragon. He comes with so many accessories.
Oh man.
Because he's got like a nightstick. He's got a knife. He's got a knife holster. He's got a gun. He's got a gun holster. But thankfully, he has some little holes that you can stick those things on him.
Oh, okay.
So you can pose him, but he's not really standing on it. Well, he's fell.
Oh dear.
He fell. I have that, but I think he's be one of my falling toys, because I have that.
Yeah, you have a couple that just fall over.
And I have a Abdul the Butcher.
Well, that's because he's too fat.
He is too fat.
He's too front heavy.
Yeah, it's mostly gut.
Yeah.
So I feel like I need to get like a
stand.
Yeah, I need to get like a standard, like something like that. I need to figure some of that out, because the other ones that that I have, like all those other, even those DC ones, they stand pretty good. There's that one though, Catwoman, that it's like from the newer versions. And it's just like her legs are too thin to stand. And it comes with a stand. It comes with like a stand with a peg in it, and it just doesn't work. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. But yeah, no, good stuff. And hopefully we'll be digging into more of those books.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Along, because there's some doozies.
Oh, there's some gems in those Lois Lanes. I'm so excited.
So
there's one, and I took a picture and put it on. I think I put it on the Facebook page.
Yeah, you did.
Where Superman's tied to a table, and Lois is whipping a robotic or toy Superman that's tied to a wall, and it looks so happy. I don't know what's happening, but I'm like, well, this is going to obviously be on the show. You can't
tell with it. There's this thing. I mean,
here's the thing. That cover launched a million fetishes. Let's be honest.
Yeah. Well, also just these covers in general. Like,
you can't ever tell, but still, I love
like for instance, like this particular cover. Spoiler alert:
Green Lantern does not die.
Well, not only that. Okay, first of all, he doesn't die, but this cop isn't anywhere near him.
Oh yeah, there's no cop.
No cop.
Yeah, it's fine. So with this, we begin with.
Well, the story's called "Beware the Hero Killers."
Yeah. So we talk about somebody who's going to kill Superman.
Right. And so there's one thing where you see somebody off screen saying, if we don't kill you as Clark Kent,
we'll kill you as Superman.
And it shows Superman getting zapped. One guy zapping him with like a
stick,
a wand? like a nightstick or a billy club,
a wand.
And the other guy's zapping him with an axe.
Yeah. Why you would zap someone with an axe? I don't
zap
know.
Axe. Well, what's his face has a
zappy axe?
A zap axe. Steppenwolf. That's his deal.
Well.
So apparently there's these. Okay, so basically
there's these two aliens.
And they're aliens, but they're not really. But literally, one is a ball,
and one is a trapezoid.
They look like. Like gumdrops.
Yeah, they're just like these weird shiny rocks, and they're like
one is called Zoyos.
Yes,
and the other is called Tiddick.
And I don't know which is which. I don't think it matters.
It really does not matter. Here's how much it doesn't matter. When you look it up in the DC wiki, they don't have entries.
Oh yeah.
At least they did
So
it. They did reference them.
Only appearance ever, most likely.
Sure,
Probably.
I guess. I mean, they're literally just blobs.
They're shapes.
Fucking Darkseid or whoever or anybody could just kick it into space and it can be gone.
You know the little toy with the kids have that's like a box and they have to put like the square in the square hole and the triangle.
Yeah, this is what comes out of it.
Those are the blocks that they put in those holes. That's what all they look like, and they're just kind of like they're supposed to be shiny, I guess. Like it kind of denotes that they glow because they've got like the pink around them.
So basically,
but I guess they can take any form. Is the idea. Because they take a couple different forms in this book.
Right, but they're also like, they're basically bounty hunters for like superheroes.
Yeah, so they're like, hey, we killed this guy on this planet. We killed that guy on that planet.
We killed this guy who was picking up two giant space rhinoceroses.
Yeah, and
while he was doing that, we we fucking Infinity Ward him.
Yeah, and then there was like a knight who had like 4 arms, and we killed him.
Yeah, and so they're like, "Yo,
so we're awesome. So if you want us to go to Earth and like get your dude," and this shadowy figure's like, "Yes, that's what I want, but what I really want is the body."
Yeah, I want to see the body. I want to,
but please go to Earth and kill this guy.
I want to dress it up and shoot it into space. So when they're floating around, they look like a pirate.
Yeah,
or whatever.
It's a really convoluted way to get revenge.
I want to dress it up like Edward R. Murrow. I couldn't think of a name.
JFK.
No. Lyndon Baines Johnson.
No.
Dwight Eisenhower.
No.
Ronald Reagan.
Yeah, it's dressing up like Ronald Reagan. No, I was trying to think of the guy who used to head up J. Edgar Hoover. There we go.
Oh, they're just gonna you give him half a suit and half a dress.
Yes,
just shoot him into space
with a lot of jowls.
I actually would love that if he's like, I want to dress up like J. Edgar Hoover, and they're like, what?
He's got like half jowl,
half jowl,
that wig. Great.
Oh, what happens is they go into the future and they just bring him back, Leo DiCaprio as J. Edgar Hoover from the set of the movie J. Edgar.
Did anyone see that movie?
Apparently somebody did because it got nominated for Oscars.
Well, wasn't it Scorsese?
No, it was Eastwood.
Oh, okay. Well,
I think it was Eastwood, yeah.
That also explains why it got nominated.
Yeah. So basically,
so they're like, okay, off to Earth we go to like kill this dude. So here we go. Mm-hmm. So exciting. And
okay, well, this is how we start. This is how we get into what Clark's up to.
Ugh.
So Clark is getting a ride to his apartment by Steve. What's that guy's name?
The sports reporter guy.
Steve.
But here's the question: they hate each other.
Yes.
Why is he accepting a ride from this guy? Why? If you hate your coworker, are they going to give you a ride somewhere?
If it's somebody,
if you and your coworker are very open about the fact you don't like each other, are the two of you ever going to take a ride
I don't know
together?
if they don't dislike each other. I think they're at odds with each other, but they don't like. It's something where they're like, Clark might have been like, oh shit, I need a ride. I'm Superman. I can't.
But why?
And he's like, and Steve's like, look, hey Clark, I'm headed that way. You want to ride? And he's like, fine. And they probably had a really like. Yeah, and I imagine the conversation was just Steve. I forget. I'm mad I can't remember his name. Steve is just like, it's like, Clark, why do you suck? And he's like, Clark's probably like, I don't know. I don't suck.
Yeah.
It's like, what does Lois see in you?
Yeah.
It's probably a lot of that shit. It's like, it's probably a lot of him be like, you know what you should do?
Oh God.
What you should do, Clark?
Because I guess like this guy's like, he peels out and Clark's like, oh my, I lost my stomach back there. And he's like, oh, Well,
it's funny because he's like, he goes, well, Clark, why don't you make yourself a cup of warm milk? Ugh. And then so he's watching Clark. I kind of like this because just the way that he thinks of Clark, he's like, what a stiff that Clark Kent is. He'll probably lull himself to sleep on the elevator before he reaches his floor. So his impression is that Clark is so boring that Clark cannot stay awake because he is so boring.
That he will fall asleep.
On his own. So as so Clark gets to this building, he does not fall asleep, and just as he's getting in, the Maytag man shows up, or it's a cop.
Yeah, he shoves his way onto the elevator.
Shoves his way in. And he's like,
and Clark's like, I don't recognize this guy.
He's like, I don't know, this ain't usual cops. And he's like,
maybe I'll just say, oh, hello, officer. Is there a disturbance in this building? And he's like, yes, you.
I love it because he's like, really, who is it? You. And then he hits him in the face with a stick, which is actually, it's really funny.
Yeah.
Because he's just like,
he just hits him right in the face, which is hilarious. But as he's thinking, he's like, wow, that actually hurt.
yeah.
And then the guy takes the stick and he like melts his like shirt.
Well, he's using the stick because the stick is apparently imbibed with some sort of energy, and he melts his shirt, and it's like, oh, you're Clark Kent. And he's like, whatever, I'm gonna fucking do you in.
Well, here's one of my favorite things, because he's like, after this guy, melts him, he says something like, oh, Clark might be like
Clark Kent
docile
is supposed to...
or something. He's like, but the real me can be ferocious violence.
Yeah.
Not ferociously ferocious.
Ferocious. Speaking of ferocious, yeah. Well, I mean, shit. Have you seen Clark around robots?
Oh well, he is a racist. He's a robo-racist.
Hates robots,
and he rips their heads off all the time.
He will if this guy was a robot, he would just rip this guy's head off.
If this guy was a robot, he would have already been dead. The second he got in the elevator, Clark would have just punched his head clean off.
Yeah. Clark would be like Nightmare City, but like Superman just grabbing robot tit and just ripping it off.
Yeah, he's like, nope.
Tit.
He's like, no robots. So this guy like melts his shirt, and he's like, oh, I know you're Superman. I am not a cop. I am an alien. And now I have zapped you with.
He doesn't say he's an alien, but he's just like,
but it's obvious that he's not. He says something like, "You Earthlings would say."
Yeah.
So it's obvious that he's an alien, and he like zaps Clark with a like beam, and then he just changes into a triangle, and he like floats away.
Yeah, this is a blop or whatever the frick this is. Zoizod.
Yeah, it doesn't
Voivod.
Matter. It doesn't matter. So
also, I also like it's Operation Earthkill.
Okay.
Operation Earthkill, guys.
So Clark like wanders back to his apartment, and he's like, oh, I gotta sleep it off. And then the next day he's fine. And he's like, huh, that was weird. I feel fine.
And so
he hears like somebody calling for help, and it's a fireman. And there's only one of them on top of a building, and he's like, oh my god, there's smoke.
Well, rightfully so. Clark is like, Superman's like,
where's the rest of your shit?
Yeah, it's like, where's the rest of your shit? And like, why are you like the only fireman on top of here with an axe?
Yeah, he's like, oh, my friends are coming. Help! That there's all this smoke coming out of this window.
Yeah.
So Clark goes to like blow it away, and it like wraps around him.
Yeah, this smoke becomes kind of like sentient. It wraps around him, so he does like he even calls out to the Flash. He's like, yo, the Flash does this joint where he spins around and funnels the smoke off, and he does that. And as he does that, this is where we see the axe.
Oh yeah,
this is where he gets all this fireman gets all Steppenwolf on him, and he's like, well, you're not gonna walk away from this fight. I'm gonna hit you with this blast.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh shit. So this is the other blob, and the other blob's
and
like,
he hits him with the blast, and like Superman goes off the building, and a cop comes to help him up, and then he flies off. And then the next day, he's on a panel.
He goes to a site. Basically, he goes to like
I couldn't tell if this was televised.
It's a taping.
Okay.
So basically, it's like a meet the press.
Yeah.
Or something, like do the Nightline or whatever shit it is.
Yeah.
And it's they're debating the death penalty.
Mm-hmm.
Woof.
Ugh. And then Clark starts talking, and like, I don't even know what these are supposed to be.
Clark is about to give his thoughts on the death penalty.
Yeah, he's about to take a stand.
He's about to say, I only kill robots. If they're a robot, I say we kill them.
I'm only in favor of the death penalty for robots.
So
just not even if they've done anything, just for being a robot.
So as he's talking, a bunch of like Cinnaburst crystals come out of his mouth.
That's exactly what I was trying to have. Is like they're like flavor crystals from like a breath mint.
Flavor crystals.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh shit, there's shit coming out of my mouth.
And everyone's like, what are you doing, sir? This is not a joke. And he's like, and he like runs away with his weird mouth crystals.
Well, okay, I like this moderator. The moderator, it gets like, the moderator just literally stands up and pounds the desk. He's like, God damn it, Clark, tell us what's going on. Motherfucker, what are those flavor crystals?
Oh, you think you're funny,
You didn't bring enough Cinnaburst for all of us.
Hey, if you're going to be breathing flavor crystals, I expect to be able to share in the breath mint bounty.
Why could you? How come you didn't breathe in my mouth?
Ew.
I wanted flavor. It's just this guy. Which, I mean, look, if you're gonna
right after this, CPR was invented because he's like, I just want to get those sweet, sweet flavor crystals.
Oh man, CPR, the first ever CPR. Was invented in the 1975 Batman Superman comic.
Yeah, because of flavor crystals.
Yeah, no, this guy, this moderator is cracking me up because he's like, "We're talking about the death penalty here, God damn it!"
Yeah, he gets real.
You don't have flavor crystals for enough of us. I'm gonna give you the death penalty, you son of a bitch.
And Clark just like runs.
Yeah, he literally runs.
He just runs away.
He runs at super speed away, and they're like,
"What?" And so he's like, to the fortress. So he goes to the fortress and he does some science and he's still breathing them out.
He calls it, there's gotta be an answer to this twinkling tongue mystery.
That's right.
Oh man.
Oh, Superman has a twinkling tongue.
Yeah, you know it. You know it. That's also a fetish.
Oh yeah.
How come we didn't get an action? How come that wasn't a superpowers action figure, a twinkling tongue action figure?
I'd like to see that.
What the hell, DC?
You just squeeze it.
This is what we want.
You squeeze it and glitter just comes out of its mouth.
Yeah, come on. I just want a Superman that just breathes glitter.
Who doesn't?
You can make a Henry Cavill, or you can make whoever the fuck is going to play Superman.
Yeah.
Or you can get that guy from Supergirl, whoever.
Sure.
And just make it like him, and just make his head real big. like NBA Jam.
Yeah.
And just every time you pull his arm down, he just spits out. You see his little dust comes out, and it's like
so gross.
And you're just like, Superman flavor crystal, and it's based off of this comic. It should come with this comic.
It should, and you know what? It
comes with a reprint. They should do that.
When
come on.
You know when you have a toy that like you can squeeze, and it just makes that sad like sound when you squeeze all the air out of it.
Which toy is this?
I don't know, just any toy that has like air in it. When you squeeze, it just goes. It just makes that really sad sound. That's what Superman sounds like. He just goes, and then like all this glitter just goes, but it doesn't go very far. It just kind of falls out of his mouth.
So Superman,
he does some science.
He put a bunch of this in what looks like a pint glass.
Yeah, and he did science, and he's like, "Oh my god, the only way to get me to stop breathing glitter is to talk to Green Lantern because I guess his ray will counteract the other rays I've been shot with."
And
or something.
Yeah, and so they find him and Green Lantern are flying, and they're like, "All right, yeah, this is what I need to do." And so So I don't know why they're did he just like meet him? Like I'm assuming maybe they're like Green Lantern. He was like, "Yo, Hal, come on over."
Yeah. Or is this back in the day when like the Fortress of Solitude really was of solitude? And, like,
probably they go back to the Fortress of Solitude, you know.
I know, but maybe that's why he didn't have him come over. Because nobody knows where it is yet.
Yeah.
So they land on a rock in the middle of the ocean?
I guess.
Sure. And he's like, all right, zap me, Greenie. And he zaps him, but it like bounces off of him and hits Green Lantern instead, and Green Lantern dies.
Well, so he strikes him with this. So Green Lantern's like, all right, I'm going to shoot this. I'm going to shoot you.
Yeah.
And we'll see what happens. But then a beam. So... I do like the accuracy here that anytime you see Superman talking, he's spitting out that stuff. So like he says, "Great galaxies," and this thing shoots off his chest. Green Lantern's beam shoots off his chest, and apparently becomes a yellow beam.
Yeah.
And it shoots Green Lantern, and it knocks his ass out.
Yeah, but everybody thinks he's dead.
Everybody thinks he's dead, and he's like,
Superman's like, "Oh no, not Green Lantern."
Yeah, I killed Green Lantern, but thankfully and conveniently the Glops are here, are Zoyos and Kiddick are here, but they're they look like rocks, you know, random ass rocks, and they're like, "Oh, okay, well, we killed Green Lantern."
Yeah,
and I do like this battle where Superman, he's breathing his crystals.
Yeah.
And he's like, "How can I live myself after this?" It's a very dramatic
as
panel.
Green Lantern's dead
just
at
hands
his
on his
feet.
side. He's like, "No, Crystals. So
I'm gonna breathe these forever.
yeah, he's just breathing.
It's
just funny. Every time he's just breathing these stupid crystals.
He just should get like a face mask.
Oh, he should get a Bane face mask.
He should absolutely get a Bane face mask. And instead of like when you punch that little tube that connects it in the movie,
yeah,
like just glitter just sadly comes out of that hole.
Sad glitter.
Yeah, it's really sad.
So Green Lantern's body disappears.
Yeah,
and Superman's spazzing out, and then
and it goes to, at the time, who was a rogue Green Lantern. Before he was a Yellow Lantern, it goes to Sinestro.
Yeah,
because Yellow Lanterns weren't a thing yet.
No, not yet, but he had the yellow ring, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sinestro's like, yo, this is dope. My dude's dead. And
more for me.
I can't wait to dress him up like Edgar Hoover. And then Green Lantern was like, I was kayfabing. Haha. All we see is Green Lantern wake up and he's like, haha, I'm going to kick your ass, Sinestro.
Right.
And then we cut. This ending just doesn't satisfy me.
Yeah, because basically what it was is like Superman is not the intended target, obviously. It's Green Lantern.
Right.
So he happens to like follow these crystals back to like he breathed them out and then they were like going back to these weird shapes.
Yeah.
So he followed them, and that's where he overheard the plan to kill or like to stun him or whatever, or to stun Green Lantern. And that's when he was like, cool, I'm going to be the target. So they put this whole plan in motion. Right.
He finds out where these flavor crystals were going back to. So they're drifting back to the magnetically drifted back to these these blops.
Mm-hmm.
And they apparently were disguised as limestone deposits sitting right next to Superman and Green Lantern when they were doing their little shoot fest.
And I guess limestone's not common to the area, so Superman already automatically knew that this was not right.
Superman, the geologist.
Yes. He is everything.
Yes.
So he traps them in a vacuum tube.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, these tubes are escape proof. So fuck them.
Uh-huh.
And so, okay, this is what I'm trying to figure out here. Okay, so Green Lantern says, my power beam only seemed to strike Superman. It never actually made contact, so the lethal energy wasn't discharged. All that penetrated my body was a harmless yellow beam.
Okay.
As for the twinkle effect, it's fading away. Oh, yeah. So apparently, okay, well, but get back to Green Lantern. So Green Lantern shot Superman, and the beam reflected off of Superman.
Or it shot a beam on its own at the same time. Because they say something like that in whatever.
Okay, yeah, it's a bit. Yeah, so it doesn't. I don't know. It doesn't make sense.
No, none of this makes sense.
Ugh, god damn it.
So it doesn't matter.
But then Superman's like, as for the twinkle effect, it's fading away, and then he burps, I think.
Oh yeah, and he has one come out of his mouth. He's like, I hope that was the last of it. Jokes.
It's like, ew.
Yeah, gross.
I'd be freaked out if I was Hal. I mean, granted, Hal's seen enough aliens in this day,
That's
so I
true.
think it probably doesn't matter. But
yeah,
when one of your buddies just like, bleh, and he's like,
he's just barfing glitter.
He's just barfing glitter. He's literally barfing glitter this entire book.
Gross.
So that's it for the Superman story.
Yes.
Let's just go through this Green Arrow story real quick.
I just skimmed it. I didn't read it.
You skimmed it. You're not really missing anything because basically, Green Arrow. So the Green Arrow story. The Black Canary is dead.
Yep.
Apparently, it starts off where Black Canary Green Arrow received a tape from these mobsters saying, we killed Black Canary, so fuck you. Apparently, it came with some blonde hair wig. So he's like, oh shit, that's hers. She must be dead.
Mm-hmm.
And so basically, it starts off with him trying to Green Lantern's thinking about how it went through, and he's like, yeah, I tried to help this kid who was a junkie.
Oh, that's right.
Because, I'm dealing with this stuff with Speedy, so I gotta, help this kid. Yeah, and this kid's he goes to talk to this kid, and this kid's like, hey, fuck you. Green Lantern's like, look, all you get from this is a social club. All you get from this social club of yours is a box seat at the morgue, so wise up. And he's like, shove it. Why don't you, my guy knows how to do crime good.
Yeah.
So fuck you. So then Green Arrow sees he's in just hanging out in this shitty part of town. And he sees a dude in a suit. So he starts hunting him down.
Yeah.
And then he runs into this group of thugs.
Uh-huh.
And he starts fighting one of them, and he says, son of a beaver. which I've never heard.
Yeah, and isn't this where he's just like, I'm not going to hurt people or something?
Yeah, he's like, I'm not going to blow you up, but I'll take you guys out,
Right.
whatever. So as all that's going on, he goes back to the police and he's like, yeah, I saw this guy, and here's a perfect description of his face.
Mm-hmm.
And it turns out the guy he watched walking was named Peter Lazenby, who's one of the 4 horsemen of the drug cartel in Star City, or where the fuck it is that he lives.
Okay.
And so he's like, all right, well, I need to figure out a way to get close to this guy. And so he decides to get Dinah to dress up, or to do something with her wig or whatever.
Yeah.
And so,
and I wasn't aware that was Dinah at first. I was like,
well, the thing is
who the fuck is this woman?
This is what was weird back in the day, is that Black Canary was wearing a wig.
Right.
This is the pre-crisis Black Canary.
Right.
So she's wearing a wig. So she's never. There's a lot of her just wearing a wig, blonde wig. So it doesn't make a lot of sense when you see her with black hair, and you're like, who the hell's that?
Right. I didn't know who that was because they didn't say like back at Canary's house or whatever. It was just like he's talking to this woman who's like very 70s.
Yeah. It's just like Dream Girl for some reason, but yeah. Or Phantom Girl, but yeah. So he uses her as a diversion of some sort. So he goes to this what's this guy's name? Lucker. Some guy named Lucker.
Sure.
Peter Lazenby, and they believe American operative is Max Lucker. So he's like this other gambling guy. Yeah, like some other crooked guy. So he goes to hunt him down. I like this guy, this Lucker guy. He sees Green Arrow, and Green Arrow's like, hey, let me know who's firebombing this neighborhood or whatever. And this guy goes, eat mothballs, Arrow. And he doesn't shoot him with mothballs.
He should.
He really should have. And it's disappointing that he did not. But so he shoots a bunch of arrows at him and pins him to it doesn't seem to kill him.
No.
Just pins him to the thing. And then he's reflecting. He's like, yeah, but they did get me. They got to me, and they got to me through Dinah, and now she's dead, and I'm crying. So that's how that story ends, because it's a continuation. It's one of the backups. So
yeah.
So that's how Green Arrow and Black Canary ends, and that's the end of Action Comics number 444 from February 1975. Do you want to read the next issue of this?
Of course I do. I
Yeah.
like Action Comics. I don't really care about the backup, though.
Yeah, not all the backups are always hit or miss. And I'm
just like, meh, I didn't even read it. I was just like, whatever.
Green Arrow's kind of hit or miss for me.
Yes.
I've never been a big fan of his.
Right.
And just as a character, I think he looks all right. I think he looks cool.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not a thing where I'm like, oh, man, I got to read all these books about him. I don't have the metal for it. But yeah, I definitely would read more Action Comics.
Sure.
I'm a big fan. But that's it for our show. You can find us on Twitter and Instagram. I'm at Angry Hero Sean.
I'm at Jen Stansfield on Twitter and Instagram. You can find us on Facebook, Worst Collection Ever. And email the show, worstcollectionever@gmail.com.
And of course, please rate and review and subscribe wherever you get this podcast. Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn. Does anybody use TuneIn? I don't know. Yeah, sure. Spotify. We're on Spotify.
Oh, man.
You can check us out on Spotify. So please check us out where you can get this podcast and try to give us some feedback. We would really appreciate that. So, and of course, tell a friend.
Of course.
Tell a friend about our podcast. Tell a friend about my brother Brian's podcast, What the Hops. You should definitely check out that show if you like beer. Or if you just like conversation.
Sure.
We were a part of that too. So it's good stuff. So thanks again for listening, folks, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Bye.